when you're running on motivation, as soon as it gets kind of tricky, you stop doing it because it's not motivating anymore. You're not
Right.
seeing those direct results. You're not
Yeah.
seeing the success or whatever you wanted to see. So you stop doing it because you're motivated. You're not disciplined.
All right.
Um,
Today's going to be a fun one. I feel like I say that a lot, and I actually got called out for it over messages that I just say that at the start of every episode, even though we might
well,
be
if you're
talking
ha
about sad things, but
hey, if you're having fun, then you're having fun,
yeah,
man.
I'm fun. Yeah, you sound so tired.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little out of it today. It's not been a great
It's okay,
day. I
dude. I'll bring
can't
up the
lie.
energy. I'll bring up the energy. Don't you worry. All right.
All right.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
What the hell is even that?
Today's gonna be a good one. As it always is. Stop yawning, man. You're throwing me off. Um,
It's not you, man.
it's gonna be a fun one. We're talking about the art of discipline. I feel like you've probably heard of it. You've probably seen similar podcasts to it, but this one's gonna be a little different because I wanna touch and I wanna point out a difference. I feel like I hear the word motivation and discipline used interchangeably. Like I'll hear someone say, "Oh, that person's motivated. That person's disciplined," and they might be referring to the same thing, but I feel like they're two very different things. Because I feel like motivation, at least for my personal definition, I feel like motivation is more of a mood. Like you feel motivated, and motivation also comes and goes. Like you wait for something to motivate you. Whereas discipline it's more internal. You create it yourself, and you sort of stick to it. I find motivation's a mood, and discipline is more of a decision, if you will. You choose to be
hmm
disciplined. You don't choose to be motivated. You just happen to be motivated. What do you think of that?
Discipline is you just don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
If you decide that you're going to go to the gym 4 days a week, then the decision's done.
yeah,
That's it. You've made the decision. Every day you're just continuing that decision.
yeah,
It's not this, oh, every day I choose to be disciplined. Because
yeah.
I think that's the same thing as being motivated.
Okay,
Choosing to be motivated. I think you just do it even if you don't want to do it.
right. The gym
Whatever
is
it might be.
sorry. The gym is a good point. You bring up the gym, because I feel like everyone waits. The classic like I'm gonna wait for a New Year's resolution to get in physical shape, and that's why
Mm.
you go to the gym in January and it's packed, and then you go in like March and April and you don't see people there. They wait for that new year to kick in. They wait for that new year resolution to build up that motivation. But I just I find it kind of silly in that we have to like wait for certain milestones to accomplish what
hmm
we want to accomplish rather than why does it have to start on like a birthday or a new year or some sort of new milestone? Why can't it start right
Yeah.
now?
Well, that's
Um,
the whole thing. It can start right now. And it usually lasts longer if you make it start right now.
yeah,
Like a lot of people who start going to the gym in the new year or start any type of resolution in the new year, they make it a month, maybe 2 months if you're super motivated.
yeah,
But for most people, it just pitters out, like it falls apart
right,
because they're not actually wanting to do it in the long term.
yeah,
And because they waited for this perfect, or what they thought was this perfect situation, and they realized, oh, wait, I can actually do it whenever. I don't need it to be a perfect situation.
yeah.
It kind of just falls apart.
I feel like also when you wait, as you said, you also can make excuses. You're like, no, that's not what I want to wait for me to get started.
hmm
Like I want to wait for something else. And the sad reality could be that whatever you're waiting for could possibly not even come, and you're just
Well,
sitting around waiting for
I don't even
something
think
to
that's a
to give you a
sad
spark.
reality. That's just reality.
Yeah.
Most of the time, that's why a lot of people don't ever do the thing that they wanted to do
Mm.
because they were waiting for something that never came. Like that isn't I don't even know if that's a sad reality. I think that just is reality.
Yeah.
That is why there's a select few that did the thing that they wanted to do, but most of the time, there's a lot of people who just never tried, or
Yeah.
they tried for a little bit, and then something happened. Because that's also when you're running on motivation, as soon as it gets kind of tricky, you stop doing it because it's not motivating anymore. You're not
Right.
seeing those direct results. You're not
Yeah.
seeing the success or whatever you wanted to see. So you stop doing it because you're motivated. You're not disciplined.
How do you stay disciplined when no one's watching or when you're not getting the results you want? Like, do you have
It's
any
kind
stories where you feel like that applies?
Well, I think it's kind of ironic is You stay disciplined when no one's watching because you are disciplined. That is what discipline
Yeah.
is doing whatever you're trying to do, even when you don't want to do it. You're not doing it because people are watching you. You're not doing it because you even want to in the moment, but you're doing it because you know you have to, or that's
Right.
gonna, like today, I did not really want to film this
No,
episode.
we did not.
Today's been a shit day. I can't even lie. But when you look at it the long term, we've made a commitment that this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We have to make it work. We have to schedule it. We have to fit it in. There's all these moving parts that we have to meet. And so while I wasn't super motivated to do this today, just because we decided we were already doing it, it gets done. And no one would have said, "Oh, they missed filming today." Like, but we would have known. And I think
Yeah.
that's the bigger thing. I think if you like truly respect yourself and you care about yourself, then that's all you need. You don't need the
Right.
other people watching you. You don't
Yeah.
need other people telling you good job or
Right.
making sure that you're staying on track. You
Yeah.
just take care of it yourself.
Right. That's a good point. When you place it in someone else's hands, you're taking so
Mhm.
much control out of your own. Like, we're not motivated by clicks or engagement to keep
Hmm.
posting because look, you can look at previous videos. We're not getting the clicks and the
Yeah.
engagement we might have wanted in the first 2 months, but we're doing it because we have a goal
Hmm.
to impact people. And I feel like that's what keeps us going, even on days where like laptop's not going to be working or the mic's not going to be working or whatever will happen. I feel like that's the thing that keeps us. Do you see this
Yep.
light? Beautiful sun. Wow. It's like I was talking and the sun just came out.
Just decided to shine on you.
Shine on my ideas.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's
But
important to sorry, real quick. I feel like it's important to tie um discipline with a goal. And I feel like
mm,
when I tie it to goals that I don't want to say can't achieve, but that are goals that are constantly moving. Like
hmm
there's a Matthew McConaughey quote. I think he's accepting an Oscar, and he's like, "My hero is me in
yes.
10 years." Right?
And
He's
always
like,
is. Because, yep.
you're gonna keep trying to achieve whatever you want to achieve 10 years in the future, but the reality is you're not going to achieve what you're not going to reach that point because
Hmm.
that future you is ideally always going to be 10 years ahead or 10 maybe like a little bit more
Yes.
better. So
It, you get into a very risky situation because that's how some people end up never satisfied. And I agree that I sound like a voice crack there. What the heck? I agree that you should always be striving. Like there always needs to be something next that you're coming at because that's literally life is you continue to grow,
yeah,
right? When you look at the most exceptional individuals, they have continued to grow. And that's why they're exceptional because they continue to grow. Even when they're old, even when they could be retired, they have all the money. They're not doing it for the money. They're not doing it for any of those situations. They're doing it because they want to do it. They know they need to do it.
right.
You have to be careful not to fall into someone who's ungrateful
Mm,
or look like someone who has everything but is seeming like they're kind of just like a rude about it. They're kind of a dick about it, right? You understand what I'm
I
saying?
get exactly what you mean.
So I think it's you always want to be striving for something greater, but you always want to be grounded in the moment as well.
Yeah,
Because if you like, it's just I'm striving. We want this to be a bigger podcast. We
absolutely.
want this to be a show. We want this to connect and we want to talk to a lot of people around the world, which is 100% true. In 2 years, we could be doing that. But I'm also very happy in the moment, very content in the moment about what we're doing.
Mm,
That doesn't mean that I don't try to continue to get better, do whatever. You just have to take those proper steps.
yeah,
It's a balancing act of
right,
continuing to grow, to continuing to improve, but also not coming across as a bum who's
right.
ungrateful or rude about everything.
Yeah. Now, I feel like regardless of how disciplined you are, or maybe not how disciplined you are, but regardless of how much you might be working towards something and you're staying consistent, I feel like everyone has lulls. We're humans, you're
Mm.
going to run into things. Are there any instances that you can think of where you had to sort of rebuild that discipline up? Maybe took a break or you did something and you're sort of like off your routine that you sort of took time to build.
I think a lot of people can relate to, I don't want to keep talking about the gym, but that
I
really
have
is
that's my story too, man.
as really is the perfect analogy. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was sometime after COVID. And I had been super consistent and on top of it. And I just slowly started. I think I got kind of hurt. I was kind of sore and injured and whatnot. So I stopped going for a while. And that while turned into like a year where I just was not like I was going sparingly
Right.
here or there, but
Yeah.
not consistent. Nothing was really happening. And then one day I just started going again. And my whole point previously about being once you start you're consistent, I don't even make the choice day by day. Like there's days where I bitch about going to the gym. I won't lie. I know we talked about Mateo last episode. Shout out to Mateo. He knows. There's days where I'm like, because we go to the gym together. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not going.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Because I'm going to go.
Yeah.
That isn't a question. Sometimes I just want to vent a little bit, but there's not a question to be made, a decision to be made
Yeah.
about me going or not going. And that's the whole thing with any type of discipline. Is you might oh fuck, I don't want to go run today, or I don't want to write that book, or I don't want to do
Right.
this, but you still do it. Because that's literally the entire thing. You
Yeah.
do it when you don't want to.
True. Mine's kind of similar. Like I have a story, but mine's more like on the like diet side of like physical health. Like you might hear people say that, oh, I'm cutting or I'm bulking, and essentially what that is you have a maintenance of like however many calories. You burn a certain amount of calories a day. If you bulk, you're trying to gain weight slash gain muscle, so you eat higher than that amount of calories. If you're cutting, you eat lower, because you're trying to lose weight or lose fat. Um,
Mhm.
Especially when I'm cutting. There'll be like I weigh myself almost like 2 to 3 times a week. If I usually lose weight because I'm eating lower calories, very strict diet. I'm not eating the junk
Mhm.
food I usually typically eat that I love to eat. But there are always
Mhm.
times where I'll reach a plateau and I'm just not losing weight. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
eating the right things. I'm doing the right things. I'm doing my cardio. I'm eating super healthy. I'm eating a lot less than I usually do. And
Mhm.
this number is just not getting lower. And it's like what's stopping me from like saying, okay, you know what, fuck this, it's not working. Let me just go like open up my freaking flaming bag of flaming hot Cheetos that's under my bed,
Mhm.
and just
Under your
like give
bed,
up.
man. That's crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, it is tough because I also read about the 2190 rule. Have you heard about that?
No.
Essentially, it takes 21 days to build a
Yes.
habit, and then it takes 90 days for you to actually solidify it in your daily routine. I feel
Yeah.
like to try to build a sort of disciplined lifestyle, I feel
Yes.
like it's important to really push for those 21 days, because after those 21 days, then it becomes almost like second nature. And then you try to push for those like 3 months, and then it's like almost
Hmm.
it's part of your routine. And things that I thought were hard when I was eating less or when I was eating more, it eventually just became second nature to me, and it wasn't as hard as I once thought. So I feel like really focusing on reaching that 21 days or reaching that 90 days, then it's just part of everyday life. I don't know.
It's also super tiring to have to be motivated all the time.
Yeah.
Like let me psych myself up to go run or to
Right.
go read or to go do whatever I have to do.
Yeah.
That's tiring. That takes a lot more brain power than just I don't have a decision to make. I'm doing it. That's
Yeah.
that. Then and then you just do it. And yeah, some days you have individual days where you're not going to succeed. And I've talked about this book multiple times now, but in Atomic Habits, they always talk about don't miss 2 days. You might miss one, something might happen, you might do whatever, and that's fine. Don't kill yourself over it, but you don't want to continue to because my issue with the gym is I just started to miss days and I was like, okay, this is my life.
Yeah.
I've just whatever, and then that led me to not being into very good shape and blah 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 blah.
Right.
So it's about being consistent. It really is just consistency.
Yeah.
It's also supposed to be difficult. Like I don't. Some people just hate difficult things. But it's supposed to be.
I
Like
feel
the
like
feeling that you get after consistently doing something and you kind of start seeing results
yes.
is amazing.
Yeah.
It's that, and that, if that doesn't give you all the discipline, I don't know what will. That's a better feeling than anything could give you.
Yeah.
When you want to lose weight or you want to build a company or we start a podcast and you see your first subscriber, you see a couple friends that, you know, you didn't know like the podcast, start liking it or mention something to you. Hey, that was really good.
Yeah.
Like that makes all the difference in the world. And it
Absolutely.
makes it a little bit easier just to continue to stay disciplined.
Yeah. I feel like life wouldn't be worth living if things weren't as difficult as they are
Yeah.
sometimes. Like,
Like I and don't get me wrong. I definitely like comfortable things. I'm not trying to be. I'm no David Goggins over here. All right. I
Yeah.
just want to make that very clear. But the mindset definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
You got to do name anyone who's done anything successful. And I guarantee you they've done something difficult,
Yeah.
even if in your eyes it wouldn't be difficult.
Yeah. Dude,
To them, it was, yeah.
all of our lives are like a story. You want a good plot in your story, you know? You want to your protagonist has to go through some things, you know? I got
How
a
long? Yeah, continue.
I got a question.
Nothing.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Um, do you feel like discipline is it more about restriction or is it about unlocking freedom?
It's
Because
unlocking freedom because you choose when you first start deciding what you're doing, you do make those decisions. So you're not restricting yourself. You're just focusing on a specific thing.
mm,
And we talked about this. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but in order for you to focus on a specific thing, a business, an idea, a career, or whatever, you're going to have to give up. In other words, restrict yourself from doing other things because that's just life. You can't do everything.
yeah.
So I don't know if it's about restricting yourself. I think it is the more disciplined and focused you are, the more freedom you're going to have.
Mm,
Because if you're just super focused, consistent for 10 years and you're 35 and maybe you've made a good chunk of change, you have a successful business. I'd
yeah.
imagine you have a lot more freedom then than most 35-year-olds do.
Right.
And but people would say that your younger life you restricted so much. You didn't go out partying or you didn't go out and do this. And just once you know what you want to do, you pick what you want to do, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
Because that's like, okay, well now I can just say, if this thing isn't getting me closer towards that goal, then why am I doing it?
Right.
It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. It's just if it makes sense to you, then. So I have a good question. What role does identity play in staying disciplined? Like, do you have to become the kind of person who does the thing?
I feel it reminds me, you know, James Clear by any chance?
Nah. You know that I know that, man. I've talked
Um,
about him. I've talked about him every single episode, basically.
and I feel like this is he says there's a quote, and it's also kind of interesting because election day here in Canada was yesterday. But it reads, every action is a vote for the type of person that you want to become.
Yes.
Do you want to speak on that? Because I know that's your guy right there. Um,
I get, some people look at someone who's done something crazy and think, I could never do that.
right,
And sure, there's people who have genuine talent and skill and they were born with a gift, but they had to work at it.
right,
And if you're comparing yourself, who's never tried, to someone who's done nothing but try, you're going to feel like poop
yep,
all the time. But if you just decide, and it's small little things, like if you decide, okay, the next 10 days, the next 21 days, the next 30 days, the next month, I'm going to go and I'm going to walk for half an hour every day. That's a very obtainable goal for most people. But by the time of it, you look back and like, oh wow, that felt great. I don't want to break that streak
yeah,
because you were giving yourself more and more confidence.
yeah,
Now that you've walked for half an hour, maybe you try running. Maybe you run for 10 minutes. You run for 30 minutes, and like you stop thinking if I have to go for a run. You start thinking if I'm a runner. Because once you start changing that mindset,
mm,
then it just becomes easier for you to again decide what you're going to do and what you're not going to do.
yeah. I feel like it's also important to keep in mind that you're not going to be able to control everything. So it's important to take advantage and to take control and be mindful of the things that you can control. Like you can go click, like if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Spotify, go watch our first episode. I promise you, it's not as
Yes,
clean or as good as this one.
this is much better.
This is much better. And you might make fun of our first episode, but at the end of the day, if you look at all of our episodes, you'll see that we released 1 week after the other. So we were consistent in our part. We were able to control when we were able to release, regardless of how much you may have liked or messed with the edits or the
When you saw, and I sorry to cut you off, but it's the same idea when you're thinking, oh, I'm doing a little funny podcast,
yeah,
but the mindset of thinking, no, I have a show. I take it seriously.
yeah,
I put in the work. That's the name of the game. That's what makes it a different thing.
right.
I'm so tired of people thinking it's not cool to care about something.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck.
Yeah.
social media has just made it seem like this nonchalant thing is the way to go.
Yeah.
People who are so effortlessly. It's like,
Right.
no, I respect the person who busted their fucking ass
Yeah.
to get to whatever goal they had.
Yeah.
That's cool. And who cares about it?
Right.
Like, I don't know if you've ever listened to Timothy Chalamet's acceptance speech at the SAG Awards this past
Yes.
year.
Yes.
The guy straight up said, I want to be the fucking best.
Yeah.
That shit was sick.
Yeah.
You don't hear people talk like that. He gave respect to the greats who've been there. He mentioned a couple people in acting, but also in other professions.
Right.
And he straight up said, I care about this. I'm striving to be the absolute best I can possibly be. I fucking love that. You don't hear people say, I'm doing this because I want to be the best.
Mm.
I want to beat myself every week.
Right.
I thought that was cool. I think there's some respect that can come into that as
Yeah.
well.
It was very refreshing. Dude, you don't hear any acceptance speech that's
You
anything
know, there's
along
like,
the
oh,
lines.
thank you. It's like, no.
I'd like to thank, and then like a list of
And okay, that's great because there's
yeah,
people that you
you
need to
have to.
thank
Yeah,
and
you need to
whatnot.
thank them.
But it just, and he did, and he thanked people, and he also said, I want to be the best.
Right.
That is my goal. That is what I'm striving for. And
Right.
it's cool to hear people talk like that. You don't hear it all the time.
Hmm.
It's refreshing.
Another question on you. I'm going to put you on the spot again. Have you ever felt stuck because we're talking about identity again because we touched on it last week. Have you ever felt stuck because your identity was tied to an older version of you that had maybe habits that you don't have anymore?
Sure, like I think right now. Like you once it's because you're in a transition. I'm in a transition period, I should say. I think anytime you are in a transition period, you're fighting between what you used to do, what you're currently doing, and what you want to be doing. And so it takes a moment to figure out what can stay, what has to go, what needs to be added, and in order to shape yourself into whatever goal you're trying to get to.
Mm.
Like if you were a weightlifter, a religious weightlifter, and then all of a sudden you wanted to start training for a triathlon, there's
Right.
going to be things that you're going to have to change things. You're not going to be able to work out the exact same way every single day.
Yeah.
And that might be uncomfortable or whatnot. I feel like I'm beating to death this whole gym thing, but it really is applicable to a lot of different
Yeah.
stories. So, yeah, I'm in a transition. I think so. I think currently figuring out what needs to stay and what doesn't, what needs to get gone.
What's one habit or commitment that you stuck with even though it sucked?
Reading is a big one. Man, I used to hate reading. And it seems like such, oh, it's just reading. Like you're just looking at words on a page. But my God, when I first started reading, it was sucked. Like I genuinely didn't like it. Even though and I just continue to do it. And I think, yeah, because I think you forgot to ask part of that question of how did it shape you? I think that's another part you wanna ask me. So yeah, thanks, Dan. That's a really good second part of that question. I'll continue to answer it. Um, my mindset completely has changed from reading. Like, go and read stuff in the same genre for a month or 2 months. Different books, different authors, all this different type of stuff, and tell me that your mindset, your attitude, your thoughts haven't been shaped in a different way. It makes you think in completely different ways, and you don't even realize it at first. Or at least I didn't. There's so many different things that I firmly believe in now that I didn't really believe in at the beginning of this year.
Mm.
Because it's been what, almost 4 months now of being consistent with that.
Yeah.
I think the gym is also one. Like, there's days where I hate going to the gym, but when you do something you don't necessarily want to do, knowing it's going to be beneficial, it just feels 1,000 times better. Like I always come out of the gym feeling better than I went into the gym. It's just if I'm feeling lethargic or slow or tired or whatever, the gym fixes most problems, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I don't know. What about you? What do you guys say? Hey, sorry. Let me ask you. Hey, Nav, what's one habit or commitment you stuck with even when it sucked, and how did it shape you?
That was beautifully read. I just want to add that.
That's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. Professional.
Okay, I actually didn't tell you this one. Since episode 3, so what about just over a month ago, someone told me that I said like a lot. And what I've been doing since, and it's happened in episode. So don't just go back and
People are gonna
don't
come
go
on
back.
compilation.
Okay, go
Now
back.
saying
We could use the
since
views, but
episode
like
3.
don't
Go back, comment. We could use the comments too. Share it around.
write down all the timestamps I said like.
Like make compilations, post them everywhere. But don't go back. Don't do that. That's rude.
But if you want, I wouldn't mind. So what I've been doing since is I've actually been talking about random topics in the mirror, and just trying to think of how I can pause and not use filler words like and like, so that when I'm having a conversation, it's not as apparent. It also doesn't help that my co-host here did communications and he can speak very well. A lot of people have given you credit on my personal, in my DMs.
Ooh, hey, give
No.
me their names, man.
I'm not
I
giving
wanna
you any
thank
names.
them.
I'm
I
not.
will
I'm
go
not telling
follow them.
any. You know what stinks? They're like, Caleb speaks really well, and I'm like, you're on my Instagram. Talk about me right now. Why are you not mentioning me? Caleb
love
speaks
it.
really well.
Hey, give me their names.
No.
man.
I'm
Shout out
not. I'm not.
you.
I'm not telling. I'm not telling. I'm not. They don't. You don't
Why?
need to be gassed up. I made it up. You know what? Actually didn't even happen.
What is
It didn't even
this?
happen. It didn't even. I just made that up. I just
Wow.
lied.
This
So I'm doing that in the hopes that I can speak a little more fluidly, and I'm not having to rely on words such as like or fill those spaces with mumblings and whatnot. So I hope it will work. If you maybe on episode 15, I'll make a compilation of all the times I've used like, and hopefully by then I don't have that problem anymore. But
I like that. I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
And it's probably not very fun just to talk yourself in the mirror.
I-
Although if you're a handsome guy like me,
oh,
it's fantastic.
dude,
Yeah.
thanks, man.
I said like me. I didn't say like you.
I didn't even hear that. All right. Okay. All right. That's all I have for this podcast. Caleb's a bully.
No. We're not done. We're not done.
All right.
Give me the damn names.
No, dude, get out of here.